Hi everyone, this is Jamila. Thank you for joining me. I just wanted to give, an end of the year kind of update, give some feedback on curriculums and just kind of, tell you how we're doing so far. This is June 2020, just turned June, and we're at the end of the school year. We really have a year-round school year. I do anticipate taking off a few weeks of July, but just wanted to tell you a little bit of the backstory, how things are going, and for my own records, what we're doing, and how I decided recently to just change things up a little bit. So if you are interested in that, please stay tuned. Thank you again for joining me. Again, my name is Jamila, and I homeschool my little son. He is 4 years old, and he is generally on a first grade level. We've been homeschooling for this entire year so far. I'm a planner. I try to be organized, and I know that some people think that for little bitties, it can be just like really flexible and not structured and things like that. That's not how my brain works, number one. But number two, I believe that little bitties need a very strong foundation in the beginning. And then once they are more mature, they can handle more on their own, do a little more individual work, then it could be a little more flexible. So I know people tend to be more structured at the when children are older and not as serious and structured when they're younger. But I kind of do a flip side, and I know there's some other homeschool mamas who feel the same way. So let's get into this. First, let's see. Okay, so I had a baby. He is 6 months. Now, I anticipated that, of course, and I put it in our schedule that things are going to be a little more virtual heavy. He does do reading eggs, the math C's, the fast phonics, and the reading eggs portion of it, which I think is a wonderful compliment. I believe that you can use it as like your core curriculum. I don't do that. But to complement everything, it is really awesome. And he can do that on his own, very little help. But it reinforces a lot of the concepts that we are learning. So he did a little bit more of that. I did sign him up for Mia Learning Academy. I think that's what it's called. But that was just briefly. I didn't quite vibe with that so much. And it's still a lot. If you wanted to get all of out of it, then you still have to go to the resources and download things and still do your own school in addition to the online school. And that kind of defeated the purpose of just the online school. I really liked just the videos, and then I found out that the videos are on YouTube. And so I was just like, well, if there's anything that we need to supplement, then we could just go to YouTube and I don't have to pay a monthly subscription for what I really wanted, which were the videos. And so I ended that after their trial, or maybe I paid for one month, something like that. But I wasn't super impressed with it. So that's just my honest review of it. And so I think we were out of school or kind of doing review things just for about a month or so while I was recovering, even probably pre-having the baby and then postpartum. And then I was trying to gingerly get us back, and now we're free-flowing kind of back into at least 3 subjects a day. So we do a block schedule. I had ChatGPT make my block schedule just recently because, so we were focusing on core math, language arts, and he wanted to do chemistry. I got him a chemistry curriculum, but I felt like that was an afterthought. The chemistry that we did do, it was, like I said, it was an afterthought. And so we were lagging with it. It was so slow. It was kind of painful for me. He wanted to do all the experiments. I didn't want to really do all of that. It was just ugh. And I felt like he needed to be a little more well-rounded with science, with the first grade science. He asked a lot of questions, and I think that he would be able to answer a little more and have a little more background information if he was on a typical first grade science curriculum, or typical kindergarten, whatever, child appropriate science curriculum, a general science curriculum, and not just zoomed in specified on chemistry just yet. Or we could put the chemistry in, so sprinkle it in intermittently, that's what I'm trying to say, but not just rely on the chemistry solely for his science in general. So I wanted to focus more just on science and art. For some reason, it just dawned on me that I wanted to switch what he was learning. Not totally take out the core, of course, but I just wanted the focus to just be a little bit different. The science and math, and maybe that's just the creativity, they kind of lean on each other because they both inspire creativity, both inspire higher thought, and he's already there with all of the questions that he asks, and he's a kind of a deeper thinker. And so I wanted to really help to facilitate that. And so I wanted science to be more in the forefront and art to really be more in the forefront. And so this is what I came up with. I asked ChatGPT to assist me in that. So, and religion to be more in the forefront. We were doing it already, but just those to be our core. And then everything else is still where it is, but I just wanted a stronger emphasis in those subjects, if that makes sense. So this is what we decided to do. So every day we usually have 3 main blocks, and it's either math, supreme wisdom, which is our religious studies, and science, or math, language arts and science, or math, supreme wisdom, and science, or whatever it is. Math, supreme wisdom, language arts. And then in addition to that, we have writing for like 10 minutes a day, just a continuous practicing, and then geography just twice a week. So let me show you what I have for math. We have stuck with first grade math with confidence. We finished up kindergarten. We started first grade in, I want to say mid-April, so we're on less than 8, so week 8. Let me tell you a little bit about math with confidence, because I like math with confidence. I was looking for another curriculum just a little bit like the Singapore math, and I keep trying to inch towards Singapore math a little bit, but math with confidence and Singapore math, I feel like their methods are very similar, which is why I stick with math with confidence. Plus, I love the games. He loves the games, all of the like stores and bowling and card games and all that kind of stuff, where you are learning math and doing it without like the rigor, and you're learning without even you're learning while playing. And so there's no tears and no like hair pulling or anything like that, but just to be, playing a math game or, card games, dominoes, whatever it is, and be able to pull those numbers out. Like, that's how we want our minds to think, like just ease. So anyway, that's why we stuck with math with confidence. It is a bit slower in my book, I guess, how I want him to learn. There's some subjects where I feel like he doesn't need to be. And in first grade, it's like a repeat of kindergarten, except it's just a repetition over and over of addition facts and subtraction facts and things like that. So we're moving through it a little quicker. So I didn't want to get rid of math with confidence, but sometimes I'm able to combine some subjects. And other times I do appreciate the repetition, because that's really how we learn, and that's really how he learns. And in my mind, I don't think that he needs so much repetition, but in some cases he shows me that he does. And first grade, second grade, like all of that is repetition over and over again, because you really do need that strong foundation to build up into higher subjects, or you will be totally lost. So now that he's like playing these card games and he's remembering these things, I also remember and love that we use songs. I particularly love the brain and how we associate songs and music with learning, with like nostalgia and where we were and time and places. And so I just have to keep that in mind. And I usually go to YouTube and I find a song for counting by fives, or, you know, whatever the case is, whatever we're learning, you know, making the numbers that make up 10. Like, I need to find a song for that just to help him remember. And then he could pull from it easier. And then so when he sees it all the time, it just sticks quicker because he has a song to affiliate with it. So, you know, that's just a tip, and I love to do that. All right. So that's math with confidence. We're moving and grooving through that. Now, I am not the type of mama that, or I'm not the type of homeschool mama that does like sit down and write, sit down and read so much. So I just found a New York Times article that illustrated how in the American school system, generally boys have lagged behind for decades. There's, I don't know, any initiative that I know that I remember witnessing being in the public school my whole life that gave boys a different program or a different like upcoming, you know, whatever, to reconcile that they're lagging behind. Now, this is general. Of course, some boys do better, some girls lag behind, but in general, boys lag behind girls in a plethora of areas in the American school system. So, and that starts in kindergarten. So it just really illustrates the point that boys learn differently than girls. And so I have to take into account that even though it's nice to tell a child to sit down and be quiet and just write and read, and that's how they're going to learn, is that the best way for them to learn? Is that just a quiet thing for the parents or for the teachers or whatnot? Yes, it is, you know. But the more interactive, the more playful, the more songs, the more this and that, even if I don't feel like it on that day, or even because I have a little baby that I'm nursing and have to entertain as well, like that is how my son learns. That is how he learns. And we're outside and we're doing these things. I have to put that effort in because I do not want him to lag behind, especially if he is at home and I'm responsible for his education. So I have to find those ways to keep him engaged, to keep these things in his mind where it's not just, you know, learn and dump, right? I want him to really be enriched and have a good foundation. He is only 4. He's only in, well, first grade. I really don't do the grades, but that's what all these books say. So I try to, if we're going to do a workbook and worksheet and things like that, then supplement it with enough richness and hands-on tactile activity that it's not so dry and boring and unlike him. I have to stay with his natural learning style because this is for him. So, okay, so that's why we have math with confidence. Next, let's do science. So I was looking for science curriculums, and this is what I came up with, y'all. And I looked. This is Skill Sharpeners Science. It's by Evan Moore. I'm not affiliated or sponsored by anything, but what I did like about this is that it has physical science, it has life science, space and earth science, environmental and ecology science, engineering, and design at the end. It's very kind of, let me show a good page. So like this, right? So very colorful, very like friendly. And it has, so what I was really looking for and what I ideally want to do is like unit studies for everything. I love unit studies, but so my idea for this, because it has a lot of hands-on activities, and so it has a little reading part, which is good for his literacy. Okay, so if you know anything about unit studies, it combines like the language arts, the math, the science of it, of whatever subject you're learning. It combines all of your subjects in one. So anyway, that's what a unit study is. Art, whatever, it combines it all. It's very easy to design a unit study. And so what I decided to do is I saw that this had like unit study elements. It has some of the reading, a little blurb of reading. It has some vocabulary. It does have some writing, but mainly it has hands-on activities at the end of each, end of each subject that you're learning about. So I said, okay, great. So I don't have to look for all of these things. It's already here in the book. Great. In addition, I go to the library, whatever we're learning. So initially we're learning about sound, and I get all of these books about sound to help reinforce what we're learning. So this is sound, sending messages with light and sound, supersonic, the science of sound. I just typed in sound, and all of these things came up. I did like supersonic, the science of sound. These are just really all of these experiments dealing with sound. Some are more, older, age appropriate, not so age appropriate for him, and then some are spot on, and we were able to do a few of these things. And then next is light, and so I did the same thing, right? I did everything with light and blah, blah, blah. And so I'd like to supplement that, and then I supplement with videos, and there's a Magic School Bus episode that has to do with sound, and all of those things help to create my unit study, per se. I also, this is from the library, but before I bought it on Amazon, I wanted to check it out, so I'm not just making a purchase that we didn't need. First Science Encyclopedia, and it has basically everything, just a little bit about everything. So elements, we did have sound in the back. This is energy waves, and so this is more of a read aloud that I read to him. And of course he looks at the pictures, and just all of this reinforces what we are learning. And so I think I actually will purchase this. I love DK just as another resource while we're going through this curriculum. And it'll last us into next year and upcoming years too, because there is a lot in that. Okay. And then one last thing that I have not done, was going to do, and we'll see. This is another DK book. We've had it for a while. I haven't done so much in it, but we are striving with our vision to get him into the mind of an engineer. And so this is a book called How to Be an Engineer. And so it has a lot of these different facts. It has a lot of, activities to do. It also has biographies. Okay, so that's another thing. With sound, I looked up James West and his invention that contributed to microphones and how we still use it for today. And so it's very important for me, and I use ChatGPT to help me and assist me in finding historic and modern Black inventors and innovators in that subject. So for sound, it was James West. And if you don't know him, look him up. It's really awesome. And so I want to make sure that he sees people like him who have contributed to this world and to science and engineering and mathematics. So that is my whole unit study for science, but it's really based on this little workbook. And I kind of build around it. All right, next we have language arts. I don't use one thing for language arts. Of course, language arts is made up of a lot of things: writing, reading, spelling, grammar, etc. So initially, we are using this, phonics and spelling, is Evan Moore again. This is what I do like about it. This is why I got it. Because he already knows all his phonics and things like that, like simple phonics. He knows simple blends, but they do go over that. I got it because of the long vowel sounds, the silent sneaky E, or some people say magic E. Practicing those, as well as vowel team word families, or vowel teams, and digraphs, long O digraphs, long A digraphs, things like that. A little higher up on the phonics level. Now English, etymology, in a lot of different languages, and so it's not consistent at all. And so it's important to know all of these rules and things like this. And so I just decided to go ahead and get this workbook just to practice some of that. And then, you know, there's a listening part and a reading part and a phonics focus on it. So there is some writing, because writing reinforces spelling if you're able to write it out. I used to not have him write it out so much, but his writing is getting better. There's less tears and things like that. But at the end of everything, I have, you know, periodically used our Montessori movable alphabet. So that's what this is. That's what this is, right? So you have all of your letters that, you know, the vowels are in blue, consonants are in red. And so this is a tactile way and a visual way for him to be able to spell it out without being so writing heavy all the damn time. And so he enjoys that. So if I just give him a word, right, bike, and then he's able to use this to do that. And then I'll give him like, you know, how would I change it up? And so does he take the whole word away, or does he just change the beginning sound or ending sound or whatever? So I like to be able to see that he's able to do that. Also, using the movable alphabet, each time you put a word together or decompose a word, you have to put it in alphabetical order. He has to put this away. He has to pull it out and find each letter in alphabetical order. So that just reinforces his skills of sorting, his skills of knowing the alphabetical order, which helps for dictionary skills, encyclopedia skills, and things like that. So he's doing that without even thinking. Initially, when we started using the movable alphabet, we did have to go over the alphabetical order a few times, but now he can just do it, you know, without even thinking, I need an F, you know, I need an X, you know, whatever it is. He's able to pick that up, and he knows it without even, you know, knowing that he knows it. So that's nice. All right. So we have this, and we do this, you know, every so often. And I mixed it up with a grammar, right? So I felt like this is the time that he needs to evolve past words into sentences. And once you do that, you need to have some type of grammar, right? You need to know when to have a capital letter, when to have a period, what is a period, all this kind of stuff versus commas, and, you know, what makes a sentence, basically. And so verbs and adjectives and all that kind of stuff. So we went ahead and started this grammar book. I like it. It's very simple. Very straightforward. It's very child friendly, very easy for him to read, with large pictures, larger spaces for writing with the grid lines. And so we just do this maybe once or twice a week. It's not much at all. We do like a page at a time. All right, last but not least, I told you all about Fast Phonics, or Reading Eggs, which has a part called Fast Phonics. Reading Eggs also has worksheets to go along with everything. And so I don't use the worksheet so much because I have so much going on already, but I saw that they have handwriting. Y'all, I looked for so many like Danielian handwriting books, and none of those were quite working because without tracing, him doing it by himself and not having a tracing guide was still difficult. I think he was leaning really on the tracing to be able to just tell me that he finished it. So, but he really does like Fast Phonics, like the animation part of it. So this is a bit easier. Every time that we do it, we just do 2 pages a day. It lasts about 10 minutes, and we do warm-ups first. So this is pre-writing. Initially, I was like, he's too old not too old, but we've been writing too long for him to do all this pre-writing stuff. No, he needs pre-writing. Pre-writing is fine. It, again, reinforces everything. And he's still very young. He still needs like all of that with his dexterity and attention to detail and all of that kind of stuff. So pre-writing is very necessary. And then I was looking it up and I saw on YouTube how important, and I don't remember learning tall letters versus short letters versus hanging letters, but it's a whole thing now. And so when I taught him that way and introduced that to him fairly recently, it made more sense of where he started his words, because everything was just so big before. Everything's big and spaced out. And I was just like, gee, why are you, this is not what the example looks like. And so that whole concept of tall versus short versus hanging, I think made a lot of sense. So anyway, I did that, and his letters do look much better. And so we do this every day, about every day, and it's just 10 minutes a day. So that is his writing portion. If anything in his grammar or phonics book is a little heavier on writing that day, then we skip that writing worksheets and we just go ahead into the workbook that has writing already, because he's practicing it anyway. All right, and then last but not least, we do this like kind of few and far between, but the good and the beautiful. I do not care for their language arts program. However, what I did like about it and I thought was useful were their booster cards. So I downloaded just their booster cards, and I downloaded just the stories or readers that go with the booster cards. Now, when I was researching it, some homeschool mamas said that the readers really didn't make any sense. They didn't really have like real stories and plots and stuff like that. It was just kind of left. And that's true. It's kind of just like reading. It's just reading. It's not like storybook reading or anything like that. And that is fine, because he has so many things that we read. I was about to say hella things to read. But we have so many things that we supplement with reading, so that's fine. It is just going over like for instance, this is endings, right? ED. But when do you say ed versus just duh? So he's learning all of that kind of past tense things. Instead of saying used ed, he'll do that and put the E sound, ed, instead of saying used. So he's learning that, and it's really just repetition and practice, because that's just how English is. Some things you just have to know, right? The more you read, the more you write, the more you just learn. It's just a time thing and a practice thing. So we do go over some of the booster cards, and he thinks that these little reader books are like the easiest things in the world, which they are, and so he doesn't have an issue reading them, and I make him read them twice in a row. So that is our language arts. We don't do all of it, during the day. If we have a day of language arts, then I'll pick what we do, so it's not overwhelmed. Everything is like 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes. With writing or with a geography day. So it might be 60 to 90 minutes. That is my goal. 60 to 90 minutes a day. If we go a little bit over, that's fine. A little bit less than 90 minutes, then that's fine. And then that's it, because that's all he really needs. And he has some breaks in between. But he is just learning exponentially every day. All right. Oh, this is what I wanted to show also. He gets like magazines. I mean, there's so many different ways that we incorporate reading. And he likes Warner books, which are the audiobooks, and then he's able to read those pages too. So there's plenty of reading. All right, so for our religious studies, again, I try to break down our supreme wisdom. Sometimes it can be a lot to break down. So I keep it in a milk stage. I try to keep it at a 4-year-old, first grade, whatever level. And so I highlight just certain words. I highlight just a general picture, right? General picture of things, of the lessons. So, and I incorporate, again, videos that I can find, songs, a lot of that. And that's just me searching on a YouTube search, and it's really easy to do that. and I make a playlist so I can always go back to it. And then, so I have 2 books that we just got. We just literally started 101 Quran Stories and Dua. And it's a little cute book. It doesn't have pictures of people, but it's just stories. Like, this is the ark. And it talks about Noah and all of the prophets, the prophet of Hud, Yusuf, who was Joseph, things like that, okay? At the king's court in Egypt, and the whole story of Joseph and all that kind of stuff. So if you know the Quran, then you know that the Bible and the Quran have similar stories, but it's not totally the same. And so I did get a Bible as well, the Tiny Truths Illustrated Bible. So let me tell you, these have black and brown people on them. Thank you. Because these Bibles are so whitewashed that it really just doesn't make any sense. But, you know, that's a whole nother rant for another day. But anyway, I was able to find this, and I really do like it. Again, there's stories that go along with the Bible, Old and New Testament. And so we just cracked this open like last week. But so far, so good. I really do like this. Again, the Quranic stories can be the same way, very whitewashed. And as far as imaging, it's very, you know, important for what young people see and older people see. So this has pictures in it, but not of people. So that's cool. Anyway, so these are the 2 that I purchased, and we're starting to get through those. Years ago, when he was like 2, because I'm so gung-ho for my boys, I got just not full kits, but sample kits of I think I might have bought a full kit. Funshine Express. I don't know if they're still in business or not, but they are basically like a curriculum guide for children, and they have like a lot of packs and kits and artsy stuff. I did not even really use it a whole lot. It's really teacher based. I like open and go, basically. That's my style. I didn't want to have to put all of this stuff together. But again, it's for a teacher with a class. I didn't really vibe with it too much. Therefore, I have like so many kits with like artsy stuff that we never used. I had a whole box of it. And so I was like, we're going to use all this art stuff. I didn't want to just throw it away. But he can still do it. It has a lot of stuff in it. So, basically, we're just going through some of this. Even though he might understand the concepts already, they're really elementary or rudimentary for him. But all of the scissor work, glue work, coloring tools, all of the extra stuff that comes with it doesn't really have an age limit on it, let's say that. So we're going through all of that for his art. Yeah. So that's what art is right now. Last but not least, we have his geography. This is something else I also researched quite a bit. And I ended up, I don't even know who makes this. It's just Callisto Kids, okay. It's my first grade geography workbook. And why I got this is because these are 101 activities. And it has a lot of coloring and what is this? Crossword, all of these things. But I really got it because it's more global. It has Australia in it. It has the Great Wall of China in it, in Oceania. It has Vietnam and the Taj Mahal. And so it's not solely Western based. It just had more global elements, and that's what I really liked. And that's primarily why I got it, while still being, you know, age appropriate. And so we do this maybe 1 or 2 pages a week, very slowly. Again, there's 101 activities, so it's going to take us pretty much over a year to get this completed, which is fine. The goal isn't like to get all of this geography completed or anything like that, because, and we have a globe, so we supplement those things. I might pull a video out on, you know, where we're studying. So, you know, it's no rush, and geography is always great. And it's never, it's never a waste or never like a time where you need to stop learning it. So it's not a rush to get through this book. But I really like this book. Alrighty, so that was a lot. And for my little one, my 6-month-old, he's just learning all his motor stuff. I got him these little like black and white books that he primarily just puts in his mouth, and that's okay. And yeah, every time that I'm reading any kind of read aloud, he's usually on my lap, and so he's listening to all of these words and playing with his brother, and he's a great 6-month-old. Starting to eat some solids there. Sleeping is still, overnight, so I'm getting some sleep a little bit here and there. And that's why I have my coffee. That is it, y'all. If you have any questions, let me know. You can DM me or put the comments down in the description. Comments down in the comment area. Look. So, yes, that is it. I hope that you all enjoyed this video. I hope everything made sense. And I look forward to talking to you all later and just getting to know how this changes. And so it's going to be really interesting. Thank you all for listening. And please like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you later. Bye.